The river remembers a prophecy of water, thunder, and 3 generations in 1964. When Abeni Adetola married William Harrington, it was not merely scandal that followed them. It was imbalance. In the cosmology of the unseen, love between worlds is power, and power draws attention. The Orisha ocean had watched Abeni from birth. The girl had once nearly drowned as a child, only to be carried gently back to shore by a current that moved against logic. Marked, but thunder had its claim too. The Orisha Kango, lord of fire and pride, admired devotion that burned hot, and William's love burned fiercely enough to challenge history, fiercely enough to challenge the old hierarchies of power. A prophecy was spoken that year by a blind diviner. When river marries lightning, blood will answer. 3 generations must choose love over pride. If they fail once, thunder will take. If they endure thrice, time itself will kneel. No one understood. Not until William died beneath a split sky. The truth was not random violence. Kango had not intended to kill William, but pride flared in divine realms. Love that crosses empires disrupts power structures even gods cling to. Lightning answered a challenge that was never meant to become mortal consequence. Yukon intervened too late, balance fractured. William's soul did not fully cross. It lingered, and Abeni, heart shattered but spirit unbroken, unknowingly sealed the first condition of the prophecy, endurance without bitterness. She raised Tewo and Kehind not with hatred, but with stories of their father's gentleness. That mattered. The river took note. Eleanor Harrington Adetola never knew her grandmother's full story until she began dreaming of it. Meanwhile, Ayo Ademi's childhood was marked by unexplained storms. His mother used to joke, "This boy argues with the sky." He did. He argued against corruption in academia, against tribal bias, against colonial narratives that erased nuance. He carried thunder in his temperament. When Eleanor and Ayo met, recognition struck like déjà vu wrapped in heat. But this life would not be easier. The darker middle arrived quietly. Ayo's aunt, a powerful political figure, feared the optics of his interracial marriage in an election year. She framed Eleanor as foreign interference. Online harassment followed. Old prejudices resurfaced. Eleanor's father, scarred by inherited grief, warned her. History repeats when people romanticize it. Fear crept in. The river carving they discovered was older than colonial contact. Ayo traced its symbols to a suppressed Ifa verse. When thunder strikes what river protects, a child of both must carry the third flame. The child of both was not metaphorical. It meant bloodline. 3 generations. William and Abeni were the first. Eleanor and Ayo were the second. Their future child would be the third. If the 3rd generation chose love freely in the face of pride, the fracture would seal permanently. If not, the cycle would reset, and thunder would claim again. When Eleanor became pregnant, storms intensified. Not poetic storms, actual ones. Unseasonal lightning, infrastructure damage. News outlets calling it freak climate behavior. On the night she went into premature labor, thunder struck the hospital's power grid. Emergency generators failed. Doctors panicked. Ayo stood helpless, rage rising like electricity in his veins. And for a moment, something ancient stirred inside him. The monitors flickered. Ayo's anger peaked. Lightning struck again. The priestess who had once spoken to them appeared in the corridor. uninvited yet expected. She seized Ao's hand. "Choose," she commanded. "Thunder is pride. River is surrender." If Ao chose rage at injustice, if he cursed the heavens, if he demanded repayment for past lives, thunder would take again. If he chose trust, love without domination, humility over fury, the storm would break. Ao fell to his knees. "Not in weakness, in release. I choose her," he whispered. "Not vengeance, not history. Her." The rain softened instantly. Power returned. Their daughter survived. They named her Abeni. Second condition fulfilled. Love without domination. Little Abeni grew unusual. At 5, she spoke of a woman made of gold who braided her hair in dreams. At 7, she stopped a playground fight by standing between 2 children and saying, "Pride makes thunder loud." At 12, she drew lightning that bent toward water and dissolved. The prophecy's final line began revealing itself. The third flame will either calm the sky or ignite it. The fracture between river and thunder was not fully healed. It was dormant, and dormant power waits. When Abeni turned 18, she fell in love, not with someone convenient, with a young man whose family had publicly opposed Ao years earlier, political rivals, old wounds. History circling back like a hawk, pride resurfaced. Ao felt it first, that old electricity beneath his ribs. Eleanor saw fear flicker in her daughter's eyes. 3 generations, 3 choices. If they forbade the union out of ego, thunder would interpret it as repetition. If they allowed love freely, without control, the covenant would seal. The night Abeni brought Tund home, the sky darkened unnaturally. Lightning flickered but did not strike. Yet, Ao's aunt, now disgraced but still powerful in certain circles, resurfaced with threats. History doesn't forgive, she warned. The storm intensified. The priestess, now frail with age, delivered one final truth. The gods are not fighting anymore. They are waiting, because the final choice belonged not to river nor thunder, but to blood. On the eve of Abeni's engagement ceremony, the Niger River receded overnight. Fishermen woke to dry banks where water should have been. Never in recorded history had it withdrawn so drastically. Cracked earth, silent air, no current, no reflection. Lightning flashed across a cloudless sky. Abeni stood at the empty riverbed and felt something awaken inside her chest. Not fear, recognition. Behind her, Eleanor whispered, "It's beginning." Io felt thunder roll through his bones. The sky split with light, and from the dry riverbed something ancient began to rise. Not water, not flame, something older than both. The prophecy had mentioned a third flame. It had never said what that flame was. The earth trembled. Watch out for Book 2.